Highland Park, December 13th, 2021. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Councilmember Highland.
Here.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum. Let us join together for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting held November 22nd, 2021?
So moved.
Second. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Highland.
Present. I wasn't there.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 6 ayes, 1 present, and the minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list?
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Hearing none, will the clerk please call that vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Highland.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye. 7 ayes, no nays, and the warrant list is approved. We'll continue on to the report of the mayor. Before we continue our business for this evening, we'd like to pause in memory of those who lost their lives in this weekend's devastating tornadoes in Illinois, Kentucky, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, and Tennessee. We are so grateful to all of those who responded to these tragedies, especially the first responders and the search and rescue teams. We keep these emergency workers and the families and loved ones of those who are lost in our thoughts and in our prayers. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Continuing on, I do have some appointments this evening for which I am seeking council consent. We have 18 commissions, boards, and advisory groups with volunteer members who are appointed by me with council consent. These organizations were formed to provide guidance to the city council and to adhere to existing municipal regulations. Members of the city's appointed bodies serve term lengths that coincide with the calendar year, and coinciding with the beginning of 2022, there are 47 appointments that I am recommending this evening. I'll read their names. The terms are listed in tonight's agenda, which was posted publicly. For the Business and Economic Development Advisory Group, reappointments for Larry Bloom and Leslie Lippin, appointments to Dano Bartolai, Linda Center, Chris Falcon, and Stephanie Kirch. To the Cultural Arts Advisory Group, appointment to Chair Joanne Bernstein, appointment to Vice Chair Gerald Eisenberg, reappointment Edward Kaufman, James Lynch, Cheryl Steiger, and appointment Alan Lasser, Sylvia Rota, and Deborah Wachtel. Historic Preservation Commission, appointment to Chair William Levy, appointment to Vice Chair Seth Pines, appointment Lynn Greenbaum. Housing Commission, reappointment Chad Birkin and Marcia Bernstein, appointment Luis Miguel Gonzalez Rosas. Human Relations Advisory Group, appointment to Chair Nancy Krent, reappointment Nancy Krent, appointment to Vice Chair Terry Tiersky, reappointment Matt Pestine, and appointment Rich Bassifin, Paul Canchester, Jarrett Fishman, and Jennifer Phillips. Library Board of Trustees, Irene Hoffman appointment, and appointment Ashley Lappin-Olean. Plan and Design Commission, Chair Walter Hainsfurther, Vice Chair Karen Moore, appointment Michael Quinlan. Sustainability Advisory Group, appointment to Chair Kelly Nichols, appointment to Vice Chair Jay Futterman, reappointment Jay Futterman and Dan Lacoste, and Chris Wren, and appointment Julie Campbell and Megan Gilhood. Transportation Advisory Group, reappointment Bruce Mainzer and Jessica Hector Shue, appointment Toby Bielenberg, Jacob Maximilian, Elliot Rawson, and Kurt Sampson. And the Zoning Board of Appeals, Jamie E. Bay. I am seeking, I think, a motion and an approval by this group just to belt and suspender the whole situation. So
Move to approve. Second. Either way.
And so now that we've got a motion and a second, I guess we'll take a vote on the consent of everybody on these recommended appointments.
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleworth.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. And I just want to say thank you to these volunteers dedicating their time and talent to serve our community. The advisory group, board, and commission members whose terms have expired will be recognized for their service at an upcoming city council meeting. I do want to recognize Monday, January 17th, 2022 as the 13th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service in the city of Highland Park. This event is spearheaded by the Human Relations Advisory Group and the Park District of Highland Park, and it's a special opportunity to carry forth Dr. King's legacy through service to those in need. We encourage everyone to plan to attend our virtual event on January 17th with keynote presentations streamed via Zoom. Online opportunities include video presentations, at-home service projects, and a trivia quiz. In addition, we will also host an in-person donation collection drop-off event. More details will be available on the city's website at cityhpil.com/MLK. Through service, we can all contribute to advancing equity and increasing compassion for those in need in our community and honor Dr. King's dedication to creating a more just society for our children. We will have a proclamation recognizing Dr. Martin Luther King Day of Service, which we will be posting online. Under other business, this year, the city coordinated a new event series to celebrate the holiday season and to bring visitors to our central business district, hosting festive entertainment and variety of vendors over the past 3 weeks. The last event is this coming Saturday, December 18th. You don't want to miss this. It's an ice carving demonstration from world-class ice sculptor and carolers singing holiday music along Central Avenue. Free Mexican hot chocolate and cookies from the new sugar-coated bakery will be available, along with a fantastic selection of items for purchase from Ravinia Brewing Company and the Ravinia Farmers Market. The Heart of the Holidays events are presented by the City of Highland Park and Ravinia Festival with the support of Highland Park Bank and Trust and First Bank of Highland Park. Learn more at enjoyhighlandpark.com. And I just want to give a shout out to our staff that has put all of this together. It's been very well received. It's been a ton of fun, and we thank all the work that went into it. Heart of the Holidays. Don't want to miss it. Okay, that's it for the report of the mayor. The next item is business from the public. This is for people wishing to be heard regarding items not listed on tonight's agenda. City Manager Newkirk, do we have any business from the public?
Thank you, Mayor. So individuals can email the city at cityhp@cityhpil.com if they wish to have any questions, comments, recommendations read into the record. And as of this moment, we have not received any emails. We do have a number of staff members here at City Hall. City Hall is open to the public, although there are no individuals that have joined us for this meeting. And then at this time, I will just ask if there's anyone who has joined us virtually that would like to address the council, please raise your virtual hand and we can unmute you at this time. And I don't see any hands raised.
Sounds good. All right, we will continue on with our scheduled business. Items 1 through 18 have been grouped together for omnibus consideration. I am pulling item 8. Actually, do we want to pull item 8 or do you want to just talk about item 8? Now let's first get a motion on everything else and then we'll talk about item 8. Okay, so I'm seeking a motion for items 1 through 7, 9 through 18. Do I have such a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on items 1 through 7, 9 through 18? And any from the public?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleworth.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. Items 1 through 7 and 9 through 18 have been approved. Item 8 is a resolution approving the city's liability, property, and workers' compensation insurance package for the policy period of January 1, 2022 to January 1, 2023. City Manager Newkirk has a very recent development that she would like to share with the council before we take any action.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And there is, for public information, a detailed staff memo included in the packet. But late this afternoon, we did learn from our insurance representative that the city is able to secure a $1 million business interruption coverage, which is recommended for approval this evening. That has an additional cost of $45.87, bringing the total cybersecurity insurance coverage to $21,995, and our total insurance coverage to $824,908. This additional increase is in our budget, and we are recommending approval for this additional coverage. So subject to council approval, we will get all the necessary documents and I can email them to the council tomorrow, but I am recommending that this agenda item be approved as amended.
Councilmember Stone has her hand up.
Thank you. So this increase is after a previous decrease. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We were able, to the great work of our finance director, Julie Logan, and our IT manager, Adam Levenstein, working with Gallagher, who is representing us on the insurance coverage program. They were able to reduce the cybersecurity insurance, but this new development is something that our staff does recommend. It would allow us to have that $1 million business interruption coverage, which is again is recommended.
But the total, even with this increase, is less than was originally proposed.
No, this is less than what's budgeted, but it is an increase of what was proposed.
Because I thought that the number you had given us earlier today was more than $4,000 less than the number we originally had.
I thought so too.
Correct. So let me make sure that I have my numbers right. And hold on, let me just unmute Director Logan. Okay, Julie, can you just make sure that my numbers are correct? So the total approximately $825,000, which is an increase year to year.
Yes, it's an increase year and year, but let me just answer Councilman Stone's answer her question directly. So the current cybersecurity insurance is still significantly less than the original quote that we received that was reduced earlier today. This is just, I'll call it a slight increase from the much lower quote that we got earlier today.
Okay. So the number we got originally was $68,000 for cybersecurity.
It was actually 72 with taxes and fees. Okay. So a 68 premium and 72. And that was, on the low end of the range that our carrier is getting across Illinois. But due to the security stature that the city has and the improvements that have been made this year, we've been able to obtain premiums that are much lower than most municipalities are getting in Illinois.
Okay, so the 68 or 72 became 20, and now it's becoming about 24.50. Correct. Okay, so it's still lower than what?
No, I'm sorry. It's the new total is 21,995. It went from 72,000 to 17,000, and now it's 21,995.
Great. Thank you for your work on reducing it to begin with.
Right. Great. Councilmember Stolberg has his hand up.
No, I meant to put it down because Director Logan answered. I was just pulling up Gita's email from earlier in the day for Kim's point. So all agree. No problem.
Okay, super. Any other questions? Clarification needed? None. I'm seeking a motion on this item 8.
Move to approve.
Second.
And this is not as amended, Steve, or is it as
amended? Amended? Yes, Mayor, please. Yes.
Right. So motion, and it needs to be as amended.
As amended, yes.
Agreed.
Okay. Thank you, seconder. Thank you, mover. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia. Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. Item 8 as amended is approved. Thank you very much. Item 19 is a computer referral for zoning variation to the Zoning Board of Appeals for expansion of a non-conforming structure at 2000 Ridge Road. Director Fontaine, do you want to give us some details? Do we need any details? Is everybody pretty clear on where we are? I can see by Councilor Holloman's face, she's ready to go.
This is just a referral, right? So
It is.
It is.
I think we wait until we have something to comment on, but I'm all for sending it for a referral.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeking a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Corporation Counsel has his hand up.
Just want to know, is this a referral to come back or for final?
To come back.
Referral to come back for final action by the city council.
Correct.
Make that clarification for the record. And I assume Councilman Holloman, that's your motion?
You assumed correctly. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia. Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, and item 19 is approved and will come back to us, I believe, in January toward one of our January meetings. Great, thank you. Next item, is there any business from the council? Okay, business from city staff?
Yes, Mayor, just very briefly, just for public information, on December 10th, the governor signed a new gubernatorial disaster proclamation extending the statewide declaration through Saturday, January 8th. Additionally, he signed a new executive order to extend all previous executive orders. With the new disaster proclamation, it does allow the continuance of public meetings to be held remotely, which as we're doing this evening. So all of this information is posted on the city's website, and we continue to communicate with the public via the e-news. So if anyone watching is not a subscriber to our e-news, we highly recommend that you subscribe to the e-news, and we're also posting regularly on social media and other communication modalities as well. And then just for public information, our next city council meeting is scheduled for January 10th. So this is our last meeting for this year.
Super, great, thank you. All right, with that, I am seeking a motion to adjourn the city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia. Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. We are adjourned. Congratulations to Julie Logan and Gita Newkirk on wrapping up the budget and tax levy. Thank you very much for your direction on that. Go team. Thank you. All right, I will now call to order the Committee of the Whole of the City Council of Highland Park, Illinois, December 13th, 2021. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Tapia.
Present.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Here.
Councilmember Holloman.
Here.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Here.
Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole held November 22nd, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia. Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
Aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Present.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 6 ayes, 1 present, and the minutes are approved. We'll move on to our scheduled business. I'm delighted to welcome the Highland Park Community Foundation for their annual report. And let's just say thank you for all of the thoughtful, good work this group does. We really appreciate you and are delighted to hear what you have been up to this year. Welcome, everybody. David, are you kicking us off, or who is?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Absolutely. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
I don't understand. Well, I'm here. Sorry. Nice to see all of you.
Thank you.
Uh,
David, if you start your video. I think that's all you need to do is start your video.
Yeah, I don't see it.
All right.
Sorry. I still haven't figured this out, years later. So I'll just begin. Sorry. Mayor, city council members, city manager, thank you for inviting us to join your meeting tonight. I'm David Reich, the immediate past chairman of the foundation. Also participating in this presentation are Betsy Brent, our new chairman, Lori Levin, our new vice chairman, and Terry Olian, our executive director. We're happy to be with you tonight to provide an update about our community foundation's activities. As you will hear from Terry and Betsy, it's been another busy and we believe very successful year. Thank you for being our partner. We think you'll be pleased with what we've done.
Hi, everyone. Gita, if you could go to slide 2. Great. No, that's too far. One back. No, I think that's right. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. That's slide 2. Great. Thank you. In front of you is the timeline that we followed this year for our grant decision-making process. Similar to years past, in May, we reached out to and encouraged all previous grant recipients and approved new applicants to apply for a grant. By June 15th, any organization seeking a grant for the first time needed to have sought approval to do so. And this year there were 6 new applicants. Board members continued to reach out to previous grant recipients that had not yet applied, right up until the July 15th application deadline. July 15th through August 22nd was our application review period. Due to the increased number of applications, we divided our board into 4 instead of 3 cohorts or groups this year to review, discuss, and provide funding recommendations for each of the applications. I think you know, but just to review, there are 5 main categories that we break our applications down into. Education, which actually breaks down again into early childhood, K-12, and general education. Human services, which breaks down into counseling, food insecurity, human abuse, and substance abuse and prevention, and a general subcategory. Senior services is the 3rd category. Services for individuals with disabilities is the 4th, and the creative and cultural arts is the 5th. Board members began their review of the applications and supplemental materials very soon after the application deadline. Hold on 1 second. I'm having trouble finding my mouse. There we go. They also contacted all of the applicants to discuss their needs and grant requests, to gain a better understanding of what was currently happening within the organizations, uncover any concerns, and identify any issues that may have arisen since the grant applications were submitted. They then prepared application summary sheets for use during the cohort and full board meetings. 6 board members also completed a review of all of the financial documents that had been sent by each of the applicants. One thing I'd like to mention that I'm very proud of and speaks to the professionalism of the agencies we support, as well as our relationship with them. By and large, the funding requests we receive are very reasonable. Occasionally, we see an outlier, but for the organizations that know us, which is the majority of our applicants, it's clear that they spend time thinking about their requests and take care not to inflate the dollar amount on the theory that we would meet them somewhere in the middle for funding. Between August 23rd and September 13th, all of the cohorts met, and at our meeting on September 21st, the final decisions were made by the entire board. Gita, I'm on to the next slide. So as this slide shows, we awarded 58 annual grants totaling $613,200. This was the largest dollar amount and the largest number of grants we've ever awarded. The total amount awarded was 82% of the total funding requested. 27 organizations previously funded received increased awards totaling $76,850. New applicants were collectively awarded $12,600. As you're aware, $300,000 of the total was funded by the city's generous grant to the HBCF. We are extremely grateful to Mayor Rodering and all of you, city staff, as well as council members, for understanding that needs exist in our community, and of course, for your commitment to addressing them. We are also very grateful for your commitment to the foundation and the trust that you have placed in us as the fiduciary of city funds for distribution to nonprofits. I won't go through the list of grant recipients that's before you, but as you can see, the funds we provided will help the youngest to the oldest in our community, individuals and families, members of our community who are food insecure, people who struggle with mental health issues and disabilities, victims of domestic violence, and more. The amount we distributed, $613,200, was well spent money. Until last year, for many years, we had announced our awards in the late fall at a grant awards reception at the Highland Park Community House. While we had hoped to host a grant awards reception like that this year, with everyone's health and safety at the top of mind, we changed our reception to a meet and greet awards pickup that was outside the community house a little bit earlier in the fall, October 6th. It was still kind of cold though. It was a very nice way to distribute the awards. And as many things have happened during COVID, we are using that experience to inform how we will distribute our annual grants in the future. Ida, next slide, please. Thanks. This slide shows the breakdown of our 2020 annual grant awards. Over $78,000 was awarded to 9 applicants for K-12 and general education programs. We awarded $145,500 to 4 agencies for early childhood programs. $80,500 was awarded to 7 organizations for creative and cultural arts programming. $28,500 was awarded to 2 organizations that assist seniors. We awarded $38,600 to 5 nonprofits that will provide services for individuals with disabilities. And the largest bucket of all, $241,900 was awarded to 31 organizations that address human service needs of residents. As I mentioned, the human services category is made up of 4 subcategories, and I can go through the breakdowns if anybody would like them, or I can just move on. Okay, Gita, next slide, please. I'd like to focus a minute on our COVID efforts. As you know, last year, we distributed nearly $145,000 of emergency grant funding to address urgent needs of residents stemming from the pandemic. We continue to address COVID-related needs this year, monetarily and in other ways. In terms of grants, we provided $50,000 in the first part of the year to support urgent needs of residents. Our board is meeting later this week to make its funding decisions for a 3rd round of 2021 COVID grants before the end of the year to help with COVID recovery. This will be our 7th round of COVID grants altogether. In addition to grant funding throughout the year, we served as a community health ambassador to share out information about COVID-19. In that role, among other things, we helped residents navigate the system to obtain vaccination appointments. Beyond that, with the First Bank of Highland Park, the Highland Park Chamber of Commerce, and Whipfully, we hosted a webinar for nonprofits, Navigating Uncertain Times, that was focused on nonprofit budgeting and strategic planning during COVID. Finally, we also shared information received from a variety of sources, including the city, with all of our grant recipients throughout the year, whenever we thought it would help their agencies and those they serve. We were actually new to doing this sort of activity. We're excited about doing it, and we'll continue to do it beyond COVID. We see it as a service for our grant recipients that they find very valuable. So I'll close my part by saying that we have been and are very proud to partner with the city and step in as the philanthropic arm of the city, and to serve as an additional resource for residents every day, but especially during our darkest days.
I just want to jump in and say thank you, first of all, Terry, for all that you do. And we want to thank all of you at the city very much. This has continued to be a challenging year for everyone, for the residents, for the nonprofits that serve them, as well as the businesses, our schools, and for you guys at the city. The $300,000 that the city provided for us allowed us to allocate to the nonprofits so that they can help address the real needs that go on in our community. Our board members are so proud to be part of this community in which our elected officials and city staff recognize the critical role nonprofits play in the health and welfare of children, teens, adults, and the seniors who live here. Together, we're all making a difference in people's lives, and we couldn't do it without the support of our donors or with our city. So we really want to thank you, and we're here to answer any questions that you guys have.
Fantastic. Well, just thank you, first of all, for being nimble, for being proactive. As Terry mentioned, this was sort of a unique year. And when crisis hit the community, you were on it, and you were on it in a way that really made a tremendous impact in keeping with your mission of helping the most vulnerable in our community. So thank you for making us all proud. Thank you for being so communicative and keeping us in the loop. And I'm just so happy that we were able to partner with everybody in a way that really had such a positive impact during such a difficult and challenging time. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I see Andres has his hand up.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Terry and Betsy, for this great presentation. Very inspiring and very positive, right? And so many people helped in these challenging times. So you really have represented the community and the needs of our communities here, Highwood and Highland Park, very well. I do have a question looking ahead. In the midst of all these achievements, where do you feel that you see some gaps that you would like to address as you look ahead? And is there a place in any of those gaps where it would be appropriate for the city to, think about that go beyond just financial support?
I'll take a stab at that.
Yeah.
There are things that fall on us. And the city has done so much, but there are certain things that fall on us that we're working on, such as providing resources besides money, which we've started to do, convening agencies, perhaps so that they can collaborate and so that they know more about each other and what they're doing. Another thing that falls on us, and this is a big thing for us, is raising awareness. We are still challenged by insufficient awareness about the foundation and our mission. The more the Highland Park Community Foundation can become a household word, the more successful our fundraising will be and the more we can do to help our community. I'm not sure of the exact number anymore, but if there are close to 30,000 residents in Highland Park, only a small percentage are familiar with what we do, let alone that we exist. We're trying. We're working really hard at that. Same with our business community. We need much more support from individuals and businesses. We've definitely made progress in raising awareness through our COVID grants, our Gather for Good fundraisers, the banners that you so generously let us display on Green Bay Road, coverage in local outlets like the Highland Park Neighbors magazine. That has helped, and we have increased our fundraising a lot. But there are a whole lot of people who need to know more and support the foundation. Businesses too. Highland Park businesses. We have developed a great sponsorship and corporate champion program. They're actually two different programs, so they're program. So it's a great sponsorship and a corporate champion program. But not nearly enough businesses know about and are joining us as partners. So, we ask our grant recipients to help us raise awareness. We ask them to use our logo. We ask them to promote or to publicize the receipt of their grant rewards. And perhaps one thing that you might be able to help us with a little bit, and we'd be most grateful. At one point in the city's newsletter, there was a consistent message about the Highland Park Community Foundation. And we know that it takes impression after impression after impression for it to sink into anybody's mind. We try really hard to raise awareness. And even if there were, again, that one line, a consistent message on the back page, an inclusion of our logo anywhere, I think it would help. I think it would promote the city's funding that is coming to us that we're distributing. And again, it would just keep this Highland Park Community Foundation at the top of mind, or at least get it to the top of mind. And that could help. I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
I just want to reiterate what Terry's saying. I think it's just a partnership, and you guys get it. You guys are in with us, and we appreciate it so much. And what Terry said is just keep it top of mind and think of us as your partner. And we certainly think of you as a partner. And anytime that you do think of it, let us know, pick up the phone, send us an email in a way that we can collaborate where we would love to. So if things come up, my big drive, it's our 30th year. It's our 30th anniversary coming up this year. So we're trying to put our stamp on anything we can this year. So if you think of something that's happening in the city and you think, hey, maybe this is something the Community Foundation for their 30th year could be part of, let us know. We might, participate in some way, and that would be a good way to get our name out there. And my big drive is I want people to start thinking everybody, has a cause, right? Every person, every family, all of you, we have a cause in our house. You may know it's blindness, right? But everybody should also have an additional cause, and that's their community. And that's the message I want to get out to everyone in Highland Park and in Highwood. And the Community Foundation can be that cause. So that's sort of what I would like everybody to start thinking about. And if there's some way to do that with the city hand in hand, that would be great.
Thank you.
I know at one point Ravinia did sort of a spotlight on local sort of agencies in the spring. I don't know if they're still doing that, and I don't know if you've been in touch with their new president, CEO. Happy to have an offline conversation about connecting. But yeah, that might be an opportunity to really, connect with folks right out of the gate and let them know. Because I know at one point they did food drives for Moraine and so forth. So yeah, great.
Ravinia Festival you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, great. Well, thanks again on an unbelievable year. You guys have been working very, very hard, and we greatly appreciate you. Wishing everybody at the Community Foundation happy holidays, and looking forward to continuing this wonderful partnership. You're a tremendous team. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. And same to
Thank
all of
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. From great work by the Community Foundation, we're now going to move to refuse and recycling agreements. Rob Sabo, is this your farewell?
This is the final, yes. It's a bittersweet moment for me, but certainly.
I'm sorry that it's in the form of discussing garbage, but thank you very much for all the work that you've done on sustainability and on our local economy, and it goes on and on and on. You've been a tremendous partner for all of us, and we wish you all the best as you head west, but really have really enjoyed working with you. You are an incredible professional, and it's really been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. The feeling is absolutely mutual. And Highland Park, having been my hometown and grown up here, this is a community that's very near and dear to me, and I will certainly be around and run into all of you at Port Clinton Square and at Ravinia. So I thank you so much for this opportunity.
You bet.
It's truly been an honor.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Gita, do you want to kick us off? I can show the introductory slide.
Yes, Mayor, Council, just for public information, there is a detailed staff report in the packet. We are looking for council feedback this evening on this policy conversation as it pertains to our residential refuse and recycling contract. I want to just also give a credit to Rob Sabo. This is one of many, many projects that he manages for the city. He is going to be sorely missed, but we're so happy for him that he is off to be Rolling Meadows city manager. So we are happy for him. Rolling Meadows is certainly fortunate to have his professionalism and leadership there. But as I tell him often, as well as other people, so once a Highland Parker, always a Highland Parker. So he will always be home here. The feedback that we're looking for the council this evening is really your direction in terms of moving forward with specifically a residential contract. We have outlined a recommendation for you based on a comprehensive review of our current contract, the services that our residents are currently participating in, as well as an analysis of other municipal contracts as well. If there is an interest in changing any type of element or service structure or cost specifically, what we're seeking for is your prioritization in that aspect. And then we will go back. We've been working very closely with Walter Willis at Swalco and then with the representatives at LRS. So we will go back and coordinate with them and then come back to you per your direction this evening. Wow.
Thank you so much, Manager Newkirk. So in the agenda packet, as City Manager Newkirk outlined, is a staff memorandum that includes a recommendation on where we're headed here. Our contract with Lakeshore Recycling was approved and went into effect in 2016. They are set to expire in March 31st of 2022. The city does, within our residential and commercial contracts, have the ability to extend unilaterally for 90 days through June 29th of 2022 in order to effectuate a renewal or transition to a new hauler. And the agreements themselves allow for the renewal of up to 5 additional one-year terms. The residential agreement, so this evening I skipped over the first slide, but I do want to note that in the recommendation this evening, I'll be talking about the residential agreement renewal. We are still in discussion with Lakeshore and Swalco about the commercial agreement, and those two are bifurcated and operate independently. The residential agreement sets forth the refuse and recycling services that are provided to our residential households. When that means any property that uses a refuse toter, a 65 or 95 gallon toter, to place their refuse out to the curb. So that excludes apartment buildings that use dumpsters or condominium buildings that would be serviced under our commercial contract. Highland Park is fairly unique in that our residents are offered a subscription option or a pay-as-you-throw. We have once a week or twice a week options. Residents can elect for curbside or backdoor service. We are also one of the first communities in the Chicago area to offer organics collection as part of this agreement. We also do a once-a-year spring cleanup event that spans 4 weeks across the community based on collection date. We allow for a bulk item collection weekly that can be placed out with the refuse at the curb. And the agreement itself sets forth the weekly schedule and pricing. Lakeshore Recycling has done a good job overall from the staff perspective of providing providing services in accordance with the agreement. We found that they have been responsive with respect to customer service. Typically, they will notify us of any issues that are elevated or escalated and have been expeditious in resolving those issues. And we've also had interaction whereby LRS management has personally come out and resolved issues within the community and have done so quickly. And they've also been responsive nights, weekends, holidays. As part of the city's annual agreement, we have conducted in conjunction with Lakeshore an annual survey. We ended up not conducting a survey in 2020 due to the pandemic, but each of the past years of the agreement, a survey has been conducted. It's in the agenda packet, I believe, as Exhibit C. But what's been demonstrated as part of that feedback, and what's displayed on the screen here, is that by and large, most residents are responding to that survey. In this case, there's 414 responses. Saying that they are either average or above on their feelings of how Lakeshore has provided services for their refuse and recycling needs. When we took a look at options related to our next steps after the current agreement expires, the options are either to go through a procurement process or to go through a renewal. A renewal in this case avoids disruptions of waste hauler, the disruptiveness of a waste hauler transition. Typically, when we do transition waste haulers, the existing hauler will haul away all of their existing containers. New containers are transitioned out. So this impacts over 9,000 customers throughout Highland Park. And it is a pretty heavy lift to complete that transition process. Renewal also provides the benefit of continuity. Residents are already familiar with the services. They're familiar with who's providing them, who to call if there's a service issue. And there's already that familiarity to the way that the program works. We began discussions, when I say city staff, SWALCO, and Lakeshore representatives began discussions of a possible renewal back in August of 2021 of this year. And SWALCO has been immensely helpful in the process. And I do want to recognize Walter Willis, who is with us this evening, in providing information on waste hauling trends, various service levels, as well as pricing levels that have come in through other procurements in Lake County. One of the things I also do want to note when we do evaluate waste hauler contracts is that it is difficult to conduct an apples to apples analysis of rates and services across different communities, given the number of different factors involved with the service. So these things include the distance that the trucks need to go from the community to a transfer station to unload waste products and recyclables, and the number of residential properties served, how much density there is. So there are a number of variables that a waste hauling company will take into account when making a proposal. Looking at our current residential service levels, we have, as I mentioned before, subscription options, as well as what's called volume-based, or what we refer to as pay-as-you-throw. I've abbreviated that to the PAYT acronym here. And what we're seeing, and this is based on recent numbers, is that 63% of our residents are on subscription service and 37% are on volume-based. So the numbers are displayed here. We also have twice a week subscription service, and we have about 425 households which are using that service. And the remainder are on once a week subscription at about 5,397. These numbers do fluctuate, month to month, depending on current subscribers and households coming into and leaving Highland Park. Lastly, I just wanted to note, with respect to twice a week service, there are other communities in the area who also offer that. These are displayed on the screen here, who also provide that twice a week service to their residents. In some cases, these communities either provide in-house refuse services or contract those services out. So getting into some of the meat and potatoes of our renewal proposals here, included in the agenda packet are these numbers, and I will break them down. Lakeshore has provided us two options on the residential renewal. I will dive into them in the next slides here, so this is just an overview. The current option, which is option 1, would maintain all of our services as they currently exist in Highland Park. What that means is that we will continue to maintain a volume-based program with a pay-as-you-throw component, as well as offering the subscriptions, both for once or twice a week, as well as backdoor and curbside service. as you can see here, I've noted all of the different proposals. So the first column in this table indicates the current pricing, and that is as of this year, 2021. Option number one, the column on the right, indicates the proposed pricing that Lakeshore has offered to maintain our current service levels. Under proposal one, what the key highlights that I'd like to point out is that Lakeshore has proposed a reduction when taking into account the base fee and the service level elections that results in about an 8% reduction for curbside once per week subscription service, which, as you recall, represents the highest number of residents utilizing that service within the community. In addition, the increases moving down, I'll run through them by bullet. They've proposed an increase to the once per week backdoor service of $2.34, which is approximately a 5% increase. On the twice per week curbside, a $7.62 per month increase. And on the backdoor version of that, a $21.92 per week increase. Specifically focusing on the pay-as-you-throw component, Highland Park residents typically, based on LRS's observations, have placed out trash to be picked up about twice per month. The way that the pay-as-you-throw program works is that residents are billed the base fee, which is that top line fee in the table. And then each time that their garbage container is tipped into the truck, an RFID chip within that container registers that container has been tipped and charges the sticker cost, that $2.71 per tip. What that has equated to under our current pricing is an average resident who puts out their trash twice per month is paying about $11.37 per month, which is less than a subscription service. That service still has the cost of the trucks providing the service throughout the community. And so Lakeshore has shared with us that the cost of providing that service, the $11 that customers are currently paying, doesn't cover the true cost of providing that service citywide, and hence has proposed an increase to the pay-as-you-throw, which represents about a 27% or $3.12 increase. Lastly, the stickers, so this would be for extra garbage, which would be placed aside a container, has been proposed to increase by 39 cents or 14%. And those stickers can also be used for organics. I will talk about the organic subscription pricing in a later slide, so I will hold off on discussing those at this time. I'll advance and discuss the option 2 proposal, which also is in the packet. Under option 2, Lakeshore has proposed the elimination of the pay-as-you-throw or the volume-based program. What that means is that they have gotten away from the base fee. So you see in that line 1 of the column 2, there is that $0 amount. And everyone who is on pay-as-you-throw would have to elect a subscription service, meaning that they would get weekly service and pay that flat fee depending on what their election is. Now, based on the average amount that pay-as-you-throw customers are currently paying, this would result in those accounts having approximately a 72% increase, or that equates to an $8.63 per month increase versus current rates. However, also the individuals who are receiving one time per week curbside subscription service would see a 20% decrease. Now, I will note here that staff has recommended option 1 versus option 2, as we do have a sizable amount of residents who are using the pay-as-you-throw program. And given the size of the increase in the pay-as-you-throw proposal in number 2, we felt that the more equitable approach would be to continue offering the pay-as-you-throw option so that individuals do continue to have that option at their disposal. There are some residents who will only place out trash once per month because they recycle or compost most of their waste products. So that does contribute to the city's and SWALCO's waste diversion goals. I won't necessarily go through the remaining options that have been proposed here, but again, these are included in the agenda packet. Also, as part of Lakeshore's proposal for renewal is a proposed year-round organics program. our neighbors to the west in Deerfield have recently rolled out an organics program whereby every resident in the community received a 35-gallon toter that could be used for yard waste as well as any sort of food scrap organics. And currently in Highland Park, residents can place out organics or yard waste by using either a sticker from time to time, or they can subscribe to a service that in our case is a little bit over $20 a month. I mentioned earlier that I talk about the subscription pricing. So if residents were to choose to opt in and we continue to operate our organics program the way that we currently are, that would amount to a pricing amount of $20 per month for a year-round opt-in program. However, what Lakeshore has proposed here is that if we were to roll out organics to all residential properties in Highland Park, the pricing would drop from $20 to $3.05 per month, which would be for every residential household. What this would ultimately do is it would eliminate organic subscription charges and most, if not all, sticker sales. And the cart that will be delivered to households, it will be delivered to all households, which is how Deerfield coordinated it. And anyone who doesn't desire to keep that cart can contact Lakeshore and notify them that they'd like to return it and not use the service. However, they will continue to be charged that $3.05 per month fee. And that is to, in essence, reduce that margin of providing that service across the entire city.
Hey, Rob, Councilmember Holloman has her hand up.
Sure.
Yeah, for the organics, does that apply then to people who don't have a subscription, or is this just all the subscription people?
So the proposal would be for everyone who is in the residential program. So this is irrelevant. That this $3.05 would be for every residential customer.
So it's like adding to the base rate, basically.
Correct.
And everybody has to pay at least that base rate.
If we were to do a full residential program, it would apply to every single residential account.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mayor? May I continue?
Go ahead. Thanks.
Right. Thank you. Another consideration for the council that we wanted to bring to your attention was that the current residential agreement, at the time that we went through the request for proposals process, Lakeshore had included an incentive payment, which was in return for the city of Highland Park and the city of Highwood to assign their residential and commercial contracts to Lakeshore. So upon all four of those agreements being approved and Lakeshore getting the contract they proposed, because we did a joint procurement with Highwood, an incentive payment that has been a part of our contract over the past 5 years. And that is approximately $102,000 per year that would be eliminated as part of this renewal. As I mentioned earlier, when the city and met with Walter Willis at Swalco and discussed our options, the alternative to a renewal would be to conduct a procurement process for our residential and just a catch-all, our commercial agreements. What we have observed based on pricing models that have been proposed in other communities is that we feel that the renewal pricing that Lakeshore has shared with us, likely if we were to go out to obtain proposals, we may not likely see a lower pricing model than what we have seen from Lakeshore tonight. And if we were to see lower pricing, the pricing that we may see may be very minor. And part of that, the weighting process as we just determine how to proceed, is to consider the disruptiveness of a hauler changeover versus the minor cost savings that we may obtain by going to a different hauler. And as I mentioned before, our presentation this evening primarily focuses on the residential contract, as we're currently still continuing our discussions with LRS on the commercial agreements. And so, just in summary, staff with support from Swalco are recommending the renewal of our residential refuse and recycling agreement for a 5-year term, which would commence in 2022, utilizing the pay-as-you-throw proposal that's come from LRS, and also incorporating a third card organics program. And we do welcome the council's feedback as it relates to the proposal that's been included. Following tonight's discussion, staff will reconvene, as City Manager Newkirk mentioned, with LRS and Swalco to have any follow-up discussions as necessary. And thereafter, we'll either return to the City Council for further discussion, or we'll begin to draft a renewal, the approval documents necessary to complete the renewal with Lakeshore. Furthermore, we anticipate providing a proposal or next steps to the City Council related to the commercial agreements at a meeting in Q1 of 2022. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Great presentation, Rob. Boy, a lot of elements. I have a few questions, and then I see some hands up. Did they say why the price of the backdoor 2 times a week pickup was going up like 37%? I mean, that seems disproportionate. And I guess my question is just, why are we sticking those people with such a rapid and major increase versus everybody else?
So we did discuss the different price proposals, and Manager Newkirk, I believe Josh Connell is on if we'd like to promote him. Lakeshore Waste 24, I believe at Gmail is Mr. Connell.
And the reason why I raise it, you know, having once been the young mother of 4 children under the age of 9, producing all kinds of waste that I won't go into the details of, you know, 2 times a week was necessary, or we were all going to just die of our own waste. I guess my question is, if people feel that they need that, recognizing obviously, you know, you have the time of idling, you have the collector running up and down the driveway, but still, it just seems like a very disproportionate increase. And my question was, why are they bearing the brunt, I guess, of everything?
And Josh, I'll jump in here before I turn it over to you if you'd like to add anything. So when we were reviewing the different price proposals and the options available, one of the key components was, how do we minimize any increases? And it was shared with us ahead of time at the beginning of our discussions by Lakeshore that given current trends and expense increases for operating the hauling contract for us, that it was inevitable that we would likely see an increase with a renewal or a procurement process. And so our instruction to Lakeshore was to minimize the impact on the greatest number of residents as possible and spread that across all of our residential customers. And so as Lakeshore was given that directive, they had then put together a pricing model that was reflective of trying to reduce the impacts on the greatest number of residents. And so I'll turn it over to Josh if you have anything to add in that effect as well on the 2 times a week.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss this further. It's a good question. It is kind of penalizing those that have the twice a week or the back door, really because it's the most expensive service. We have a full extra truck on the street in Highland Park 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, just because of the twice a week and the backdoor service. So if we didn't have that truck on the street, we would have significant savings if we were to eliminate those 2 options. I think that's why Rob had looked at maybe at least trying to eliminate the twice a week. I don't think we'd be able to pull that truck off the street 100%, but we would have, it's very unproductive. And so we just looked at the true cost of that service. And is it proportionate for everybody? No, there are some driveways that are 20, 30 feet, but we have some that we need a pickup truck to go make the run because it's hundreds of feet down the, from the road to the back door there. So is it something we could take a look at and maybe revise a little bit? Sure. But it might not provide the same amount of savings for the majority of the residents. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish.
I recognize and appreciate that. I just think there needs to be a little bit of a drill down to who is using that service and recognizing that they may be, even less likely able to. There are many circumstances that cause people to choose one of those different options. There are driveways that don't lend themselves to people pulling their garbage down the driveway. They'll just, in the dead of winter, you'll die pulling your garbage down the driveway because of the incline. There's no place at the end of the driveway. I've gone down streets where people are placing their garbage containers in the street because there's nowhere for them to put them. So I have gone through this conversation now for 11, 12, 13 years, starting with Steve Mandel and the compressed natural gas. And, it used to be everybody got 2 times a week at their back door. And I recognize and appreciate that we're trying to bring about cost savings and diminished impact in terms of the environmental impact. But I think we need to be a little bit sensitive to people's personal situations and recognize that you may be unduly burdening folks who may already have a lot going on. I have 2 more questions, and I know pretty much everybody on the council has their hand up. Do we have an identified resource for the sustainability fund if the incentive is going away? And maybe I'm not remembering where all the sustainability fund dollars come from, Rob, but I thought they were coming from this situation. So I'm wondering if we've identified those.
Yes.
And also 2 other pieces. One, I am constantly asked by people why Highland Park doesn't offer leaf pickup at the curb. I don't even know if that entered the conversation here, but I add that to the conversation. And then lastly, I think there's very little in this town that gets people up in arms faster than garbage pickup and changes to garbage pickup and changes to the cost of garbage pickup. So that's my plea to our communications team to just communicate this as much as humanly possible. And people will still be upset that they didn't read about it somewhere. But I think we need to recognize that this is a very personal thing for a lot of folks. They've made their choices and it impacts them and it matters a lot. So
I can jump in and then you can certainly add to it. And Mayor Councilmember Holloman asked that same exact question, your first question earlier today. So we do receive a franchise fee from our agreement with LRS. And so we are budgeting about $112,000 from that revenue, and that's deposited into the sustainability fund and helps us to offset our expenses accordingly in that regard. That incentive was offered by LRS during that transition year when we were transitioning to a new hauler, and just for us to help us offset our costs and expenses as part of that transition. So there is still a revenue stream that would come into the sustainability fund. Your second question, as it pertains to the leaves at the curbs, we do understand that there are some communities that are still doing that. I know Director Canapretti, I'm sure his hair is standing up on end right now because it is not recommended at all from a public works perspective because of all the leaves in the storm sewers. It gets clogged up. It creates extreme challenges, even though communities do street sweeping and then pick up with frequency as well. So we don't recommend it, but it is a possibility, and we know there are communities doing that.
Great.
If I may add one other note, an additional revenue source within the sustainability fund is the city's electric aggregation program, which has gone into effect this year and on a 3-year term. So that will provide an additional revenue source of just over $100,000 per year, which should help at least offset if the incentive payment were to go away.
Great, thank you. Okay. Councilmember Tapia had his hand up first.
Yes, I wanted to express my support for option 1 with the following rationale that I think those that do the pay as you throw have a couple motivations, right? One is cost savings, and there's a motivation to do the extra effort to reduce garbage footprint so that I can save some money, and they should be rewarded for that extra effort. And then there's those that are more ecologically minded that also the motivation will be there, and they're going through the extra effort also, and they should be rewarded and not penalized by having their prices go up for the extra work they do. So, and that becomes a socioeconomic issue as well as a recognition for the effort. We know that there's cost buyers and value buyers. And I think, the value buyers, many of them want the convenience of a subscription service, and it's easier and likely willing to pay more for that benefit. So I just want to express my support for option 1.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Stone.
Thanks. So I am also supportive of option 1, but I'm concerned about the increase in the price, in the base price. And I'm wondering whether we can spread out some of that so that because we're providing in option 1, a pretty substantial decrease in the price for the subscription folks for the once a week pickup. and I understand the desire to provide a cost decrease for the most people possible, but I think that there's a policy consideration here. The reason that the pay-as-you-throw program began, I think 15 or 20 years ago, was to provide a financial incentive to people to reduce their trash in compliance with our sustainability plan and with the SWALCO program that we had signed on to for a certain amount of reduction in our trash volume per year. So the pay-as-you-throw program under the proposal one would go up by about 30%. And that's pretty substantial. So I'd like to see that not go up so much. And I'd like to perhaps see the once a week not go down so much so that can even out. And as the mayor said before, there's a disproportionate burden on certain people based on the proposal one. And I understand that you're trying to get it more in line with the actual costs. But I do think that there should be some kind of more, just to have everything go up maybe the same percentage, try and keep it a little bit more in line with what we have now. And then I'm also supportive of the third bin, of the compost bin for everybody. But if we're going to do that, then that really raises prices in terms of the base price. So if we're going to do that, I would want to see a different sort of pricing structure to incorporate that in.
Do we know, I don't know why I keep thinking like 11% of the city is using the composting, or am I just making that number up out of thin air?
So compost is a bit tricky to track because as of right now, people can put it out with their yard waste containers. In the wintertime, we tend to know because we have a winter opt-in program. And I believe we have increased that annually. We're at about 150 households currently, I want to say, approximate number. So that's a hard, it's difficult to track because there are a large number of residents who will commingle. We have what's called a ride along. So people will commingle yard waste with their food scraps and use a sticker for that service.
But the $3 a month is essentially the price of a sticker, give or take a few pennies. So if somebody puts out a bag of whatever sort of compost, whether it be leaves or grass clippings or food waste or some combination once a month, then they've paid for that program. It's paid off.
Right. I guess I have a real problem with just charging everybody $3 a month regardless. That seems a little onerous, and while it's $3, it's $3. So I just think, right out of the gate, we're raising prices potentially 37% for some people, and then surcharging them for a program they're not even necessarily participating in. I don't think that's a great idea. Councilmember Bloomberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo what Councilmember Stone had to say with respect to option one. I support option one generally. I would like to see an increase for the subscription base rather than a decrease, at least equitably between the different options. I think we want to encourage people to try to go volume-based at a point where they may be at a tipping point that they can control the economics of what they're being charged. That seems a little bit more equitable to me. I wonder if in terms of the twice a week option, it might be easier for Lakeshore to pick up 2 garbage cans from a household at a slightly lesser rate than charging a greater rate to come out twice. That would be an environmental savings in terms of the number of trips that they have to take. And the homeowner can still have the backdoor option at no additional cost other than for the additional can, and a slightly lower cost for putting out 2 cans on one day instead of 1 can twice a week. I think that might be a cost savings for homeowners who put out 2 cans a week, and something a little bit more manageable for Lakeshore.
I'm going to be a devil's advocate and say,
Sure.
Maybe your garage is bigger than my garage. I can't fit one in my garage. So
Our garage is pretty tight, but it would seem to me that since we have these various cans that are being put out, that an additional can, putting out 2 cans once a week would be a pretty reasonable trade-off. I understand what you're talking about, space. I do. I store my cans in the garage. Some people store them outside constantly, I guess with a bungee cord to protect against animals. But it would seem to be sort of a middle ground that would be a cost savings to the homeowners and environmental savings in general and more manageable to Lakeshore. So I'm just putting that out there as a consideration.
And then I'll throw one more, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but July with 2 cans filled with diapers, seriously, like I speak from where I know. And so I'm just saying, you know.
I think that's a reasonable discussion, but even 1 can filled with diapers is the same.
Right now.
problem.
So I'm just saying, you know, if you've got, and I'm sorry that we have to have this conversation, but I'm just telling you, you know, as somebody who went through years of a lot of people in a lot of diapers, if I had to have a full week's worth of diapers from 2 people, potentially 3, I'd have to leave. So I'm just saying, think about what you're asking. There's the theory and there's the reality. So I
understand that. Those are certainly reasonable things to consider. You said you didn't want to be difficult. I don't think that is being difficult. I think those are important considerations. But trying to find economically some tipping point where Lakeshore can continue to provide the service, where we can keep some of the cost options a little bit lower for residents might be something to consider. Another thing I want to throw out there is the mass garbage collection that we have annually. We divide the city into 4 areas, and Lakeshore comes around and cleans up everything from old mattresses, from the sublime to the ridiculous. I've been in favor of that, but it seems more and more we're acquiring massive amounts of trash from outside the city of Highland Park, and I'm not so sure that with the option to put out large items on a regular basis, that's something we ought to ultimately consider eliminating. I think that's probably a big expense for Lakeshore. I appreciate it, having used it, but I think it may have come time to reconsider that, given the amount of free service that we're providing to surrounding communities unwittingly. Lastly, I just want to express my appreciation overall for Lakeshore. I think they've been very, really excellent to work with over the years. When we switched to Lakeshore, they've been very accommodating to some of the unique refuse collection that we have come forward with the city. I think we're a very advanced community in what we expect. And generally, Lakeshore has been very accommodating with that, and I appreciate it. There are certainly instances where things don't always work out well on an anecdotal basis. Occasionally, somebody's garbage gets missed for a little bit, but there's usually somebody to contact and usually a responsive voice at the other end of the line to take care of residents' concerns as we go forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Littlemore.
I don't know if it's irony or what, but the Lakeshore truck just drove by my house and picked up all my recycling. So just so you know, we're all on the same page here. I really want to agree with the mayor on one particular point. I don't think there's anything that gets this community going more than if you upset them about their garbage. And I think what I really love about option 1 are 2 real things. Number 1, there's a ton of optionality. And I think people do it their way, and we're all creatures of habit. And so if we're used to once a week, twice a week, pay as you go, whatever it is, excuse me, I do think that people really like the optionality of 1. And because of that, I'm in favor of it. But I do have a couple of other things that are, well, here's the other thing that I think that Lakeshore and staff must have done very well. Philosophically, option 1 really, the pricing structure that they presented to us, I believe, is really in line with what we as a community aspire to in terms of encouraging people to be as prudent and as good about their garbage as possible. and in terms of reducing their footprint. And sorry, Nance, I'm going to completely disagree with you about the twice a week. And also having had two babies very close together, I completely get it when you're like dying, you get so much garbage. But frankly, for twice a week pickup, I think we ought to hit it hardest, because what we want to do is say to people, please reduce this. Please get it down to once a week. We don't want these trucks on our street as much as we have them on. We don't want them coming back and forth and back and forth. And we want you to think in a way, and it's going to cost you if you're going to get it twice a week. So obviously it does, but I'm commending them for the price structure, because I do think it incentivizes people to be as much as possible on a plan and on a once a week plan. So that was part of it. One thing that bothered me, and then when I read through the contract, I think it's okay. I just want to double check it. And that is that I envision the elderly person who really can't take their garbage out to the street, and it needs at the back door. And so that pricing I didn't want to see go up, because I just want to make sure we're not unfairly prejudicing someone for whom it is extremely hard. So Nancy, to your point, young parents, but also elderly or infirm or someone with a disability where it's really much harder to get it out to the end of your street.
Right.
But for the most part, and the other thing is, I think that by really doing this reduction, we're saying to people, we are cognizant that prices have gone up in a lot of different things, and that's why we wanted to reduce it. Maybe don't reduce it as much if that's what it's going to take. I'm talking about the once a week at the street, or curbside rather, because I think we're really saying to people, we're trying to work with you, and we're trying to also manage behavior, and so you're going to pay up for it if it's going to be the other way. I will also tell you that in the same way as you have this optionality, I think if you charge 100% of people, even if it's $3 a month for 11% of usage for composting, people are going to go ballistic. I think they're going to be really upset about it. And it's the philosophy, it's not the amount. The amount is extremely reasonable. It's so reasonable that I really don't care about it. But I think philosophically, people want to pay for what they're getting in terms of service, and they don't want to be taxed or not fined, but just automatically have to pay for a service that they're not receiving. I just want to see if I have anything else. Tony, I will tell you, I do think the annual pickup is very expensive, but it's one of those things, boy, do people get excited about it, and boy, do people want to do it. So, I mean, if it's going to be a cost thing, then maybe that's something we do need to rethink. But I will tell you, I think people will be up in arms about losing that too.
They have been. Well, we've talked about it in the past. We've been
People
told.
go crazy about that. They look forward to it. I don't know a single person who can keep track of a concert, but I can tell you they know when their annual pickup day is. It's the craziest thing. I think I had one other point. Who's using leave curb third cart? Nope, that covers all my points. I think it's a great option, but I am not in favor of the $3 surcharge for everyone.
And when we raised our prices to offer free recycling, people were bananas over that. And I mean, obviously that's what's been, but there was huge outcry. Councilmember Holloman. Oops, you're muted.
So, Kim, I think you may never have imagined this day would come when I was advocating for the organics. So I just wanted I think the time has come, just like you said, that at one point we raised the price and included free recycling. At some point, we have to come to terms with the fact that reducing our consumption or whatever is going to involve organic recycling. You look at communities in Europe, they have it's automatic. You automatically recycle your organic waste, and we are far behind in that regard. I think with the reduction in option one combined with the increase for the $3, we would be missing a great opportunity to encourage that in our community. The last time this came up and was considered, I spoke out fervently against it because the charge was going to be $20 per household, and I thought that was ridiculous. And we had more people than today advocating for it, actually. So I'm kind of surprised that at such a small price tag, the cost of one single bag that more people aren't interested in something like that. I think it's a change opportunity. I think Highwood's been charging like $20 a household for years, if I'm not mistaken, like for 2 or 3 years now. So I would not be for it if it were a $20 fee, but at $3 a household, I feel like it is making a statement about the importance of recycling organics, making it available, easy, and year round. When you put that can out there, people will use it. If you just say, oh, throw it in your whatever, they're not going to. And I think if we're going to incent that behavior, then the $3 is a good investment. I'm willing to take the hit on that to encourage behavior change and to try and make a difference. I am not, however, willing to give up on trash day. I think that is, I will call it political suicide. So if you think that we can give up trash day in Highland Park, you are mistaken. Lakeshore has been very creative in asking that question on their survey, and every single year, illustrating how much it costs, illustrating the environmental impact. But if you look at the results of the questions that they've asked that for many years, the 75 to 80% of individuals have said, do not get rid of trash day. So I think it would be a huge mistake to even broach that subject. I think the actual fly dumping may be a little bit exaggerated in our heads. We also have a robust recycling program, and people use that day to recycle and free cycle, and it's not all a total loss. So I would say let's live with that for the time being. I'm in favor of option 1. Like I said, I would be happy to see the implementation of number 3. I think, if you need to service 2 times a week to your back door, then you need to pay for that. I think the approach that was taken in this group, I realize there are some people who have to do that, but there are very few elderly people who live alone who produce enough trash to justify twice a week, who would have a difficult time with a single backdoor pickup. So I think it is a huge impact. It is expensive. And so what we're asking is for people who consume and who need that expense to pay for it. And I don't think that the community necessarily should underwrite that cost for somebody who needs that amount of support. I just think in this case, if they need that, they can pay for it, or it'll be an incentive to come down to a different plan. So those are my thoughts. Oh, one other thing, the incentive that we got for the contract a few years ago, I realized that they're talking about eliminating that. But I also wanted to ask if there's no incentive for not having to go to a competitive bid. I mean, it's like you said, hugely expensive to switch carriers. From the carrier's perspective as well, and in picking up carts and putting out new carts, we're basically offering a risk-free 5-year contract where we're not asking them to go out for bid on this. So is that not worth any incentive? And perhaps that incentive is applied back to the community and not dumped into a sustainability fund, but maybe that gives, either we can use that to help educate people about the importance of organic recycling and why we're doing it, in the same way that we did with recycling many years ago. But I think there should be some consideration. I'm not going to put a dollar amount on it, but for a no bid contract, you can come up with some kind of incentive for getting that, in my opinion.
Excellent point. Really appreciate you raising that. Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Stolberg. You are muted.
Thank you, Mayor. So I guess the fun part about going last is maybe my comments will be shorter. Actually, I first of all, with regard to the large trash day, I could not agree with Councilmember Holloman more. We have people asking when it's coming. I hear what Councilmember Bloomberg is saying, but for the little bit of flyby dumping we may have, I think upsetting the community with eliminating it, despite the fact that we offer large pickups at various times. Most either don't want to be educated or aren't educated, and they just look for that one time a year, and they look forward to it. With regard to the 2 times a week, whether it's the back door or the curbside, I understand the cost to Lakeshore, but at the same time, I don't view that as necessarily taking advantage of or a luxury. I think people who need that 2 times a week, it's not an option. So maybe some of the cost increase could be a little bit disproportionate, specifically for the, I understand what you said about going all the way up the driveway or the pickup truck, but if you're reducing the 1 time a week and you're putting 18% on the 2 time a week, to me, that seems a little bit disproportionate on the curbside. I was about to say what Councilmember Holloman said, so I'm glad she brought it up. The city is very pleased with the work Lakeshore has done, both in their work and their willingness to work with us. I know we had a long, lengthy discussion about ways to make the big pickup day work. But I agree to not take this out to bid, to say we're satisfied and to just take the incentive away 100%. I would ask that you go back and see for the next 5 years what you could come up with, because we do have to justify it, and there's lots of business out there, and someone might be willing to create some type of incentive that would be worth it for us to go through the headache of switching out toters and cans, etc. But finally, on the last point, to the organics, I think it's a home run at $3 a month. Let's look at what you're bringing the cost down for once a week, and in a rising interest rate, gigantic inflation, Social Security is going up the highest it's gone up in 40 years at 6%. There's something to be said about lowering prices, but if you want people to change their habits, you got to start. And at some point, if you say I'm going to lower your price $3 a month, or I'm going to keep your price unchanged, and I'm going to give you this organic toter at no cost. Now we look like we're not only keeping the cost down, but we are doing something green. We are doing something to incentivize them. And what you might get, and I speak from experience because to the mayor with 2 boys and all the other boys at the house, 1 day a week option is not an option unless you want to pile at the end of my curb, after 3 dinners. I think if you did incentivize that organics, you may see some of those people with a 2-day-a-week pickup say, you know what, I got the extra can, and a lot of the recycling could go into the organics potentially, and you know what, I can go to once a week. So I would be much more in favor, instead of lowering the cost for that once a week, keep it the same and include the $3, and that's the majority of the households in Highland Park. And if we can't get people to buy into it at no increase over the previous year, we never will. So I'd be really supportive of that. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks. Rob, do we have any information at all on who is just sort of self-composting? Like who's doing their own in their own backyard and they don't really need to pay somebody because they're meeting our mission, but they are doing it on their own and they don't need to send it off?
We haven't conducted a survey on that. It hasn't been reported to us, so we don't have that information at this time.
Mayor,
can I jump in? I think that there are a handful of us who are composting in our backyards, I being one of them. But I'm composting in my backyard, but I'm also using the organics program for certain things that I'm not able to compost because it doesn't get hot enough in my yard.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people who are composting are doing both.
Okay.
Or in the winter, maybe they're sending it in the bin to Lakeshore, and in the summer they're doing it at home.
All right. You had your hand up for something else.
I did. On the organics thing, I just want to point out that I agree with everything that Councilmember Holloman and Councilmember Stolberg said about organics pickup, but I want to say that Highland Park has signed on to, we have a greenhouse gas emissions, a climate action plan, and a goal to reduce those emissions. And when you send organic matter, whether that be leaves or food or anything else that decomposes in that way, to the landfill, it produces methane, which is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, and a heat trapping gas. When you compost it, whether it be in a commercial compost facility through Lakeshore or whether it be in your backyard, it doesn't produce methane because it's just a different type of decomposition. So in terms of our greenhouse gas emissions, there are benefits to having the organics program. And as Councilmember Stolberg said, when you start putting certain things into that organics bin, that might reduce the quantity of trash you have. But I'd like to see something where the base price perhaps doesn't increase except for that $3 a month. So the base cost would still go up substantially for the pay-as-you-throw folks, but it wouldn't be as much of a problem because it would include that additional service. And then it would, we'd keep the price similar for the once a week. And I agree also with what a couple of people have said about the twice a week pickup, that if people need that twice a week backdoor service, they're just going to need to pay more for it because it's a much more expensive service. The people who are really most impacted by the cost of trash, the lower income folks, some of the seniors, those sorts of people probably don't have trash twice a week, and probably don't need the pickup at the back door.
I'm not sure we can make those assumptions, but I understand what your general theory is. So thank you. Councilmember Tapia?
Yeah, I just want to close a couple loose ends, just to state my opinion on some things I hadn't weighed in before. I would also be supportive of the organics program at $3 a month for everybody for all the reasons that were stated. And I am supportive of the annual cleanup for all the reasons that were stated. I love it, and it's kind of a festive day in Highland Park, and I think it's a good way to recycle things because people come and pick up stuff that they also want, and it's not just LRS is picking up the stuff. We're actually distributing goods around the community and recycling it that way. And I also am in agreement that, you know, if for those that have a need for twice a week for whatever reason, let's charge the cost of it as appropriate, and because it is an extra service. And I do want to come back to the pay as you throw. That option one, even though I said I supported it, I would agree with the shifting the burden, right? That rather than upping the pay as you throw and lowering the monthly, I would reverse it. I don't know how the overall economics come out, but you know, no one's complained about that I know of in a substantial way that the monthly service should be low, you know, ask for it to be lowered. And I don't think anybody's expecting for it. And again, going back to rewarding those that are going to the extra effort to reduce their garbage footprint, I would like to see that price either stay, not go up, or even lower to incentivize more pay as you throw.
Okay. We obviously, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, like, you're wanting more data and more of a cost analysis. I don't know that we have the ability to do that. Josh, you want to chime in here?
Yeah, I'm just throwing this out there because I've been doing this a long time. Part of the reason for adjusting some of these prices, I was looking to recalibrate the pricing, because if everybody did the pay as you throw, it wouldn't be the pricing that we're at. We've got the subscription users subsidizing a lot of the pay as you throw. I mean, I still have to run a truck for waste, recycling, and organics by every single home, whether they have material at the curb or not. And there's a cost to that. And so, and I'm okay if we don't recalibrate it now, but if we do it now, it'll be less impactful years from now, when there's going to have to be a major calibration because we have so many subscription users really paying for the bulk of the services. And so that's kind of the reason to make some of these adjustments. And to make another point on the organics, I mean, we don't know who utilizes stickers for yard waste, or some people have a service, but maybe they do their own spring and fall cleanup. But many people, I mean, what we have found when we roll out an organics program, our sticker sales almost go to nothing. And so we sell about 50,000 stickers a year, all for organics. We don't really have stickers for extra garbage because we are taking a bulk item that we threw in to incentivize Highland Park to get rid of the spring cleanup with those 4 Saturdays. We're keeping all that in there still because we don't want to change that. But we will find that people will save money on the stickers. But again, it's not going to be everybody. We just don't know how many residents are affected by that because we don't know who's using stickers, who's not. But it is something to take in consideration when you look at that additional cost for each home of $3.05. One thing I have found is most of the pay-as-you-throw users are the ones that are using the stickers for their own yard waste. Those are the ones that are a little more economical, again, just generally speaking. So they don't always have the yard waste service with a landscaper.
Okay, good to know. And I'm going to again raise my concern about subscription people subsidizing pay as you throw. And if we have people who are on fixed incomes who can't tote their toter down to the driveway. Now we're penalizing them for basically being old and living in Chicago.
And if they're twice a week, yes. If they're once a week, I left that price the same because I thought the same thing you did, that most of those residents probably don't generate a lot because they're empty nesters, they're elderly, and I left that price the same because making those assumptions. So, and there was another, I think it was Councilman Bloomberg brought up a point about the 2 carts. We have that program in place. It's $3 a cart per month to have additional carts. So that's there, and any of the programs, a homeowner can do that and not have the twice a week if they choose to, and they have room to accommodate it.
I make one clarification. So the once a week backdoor is flat on the service level, but there still would be a slight increase because of the base fee increase. So it's a slight increase, but the actual service level amount is flat.
Thank you. 5,000 combinations. Okay, Councilmember Stone.
Just to add one more combination, because of what Josh has said about the pay-as-you-throw and the consistency for their trucks, I'm wondering whether we should be talking about an every other week option instead of a pay-as-you-throw. That would provide the consistency that you're looking for, but would provide a lower cost for those people who either don't need as much trash service, or for people who want to have some more control over their expenses and are able to reduce their trash. And we did do that with, and Josh is like frozen now. We did do that with the winter compost, where we did the every other week. One day in the winter was the east side and one day was the west side, and I think that worked out fairly well. That's happened for the last couple of years. So I don't know if something similar would work for an every other week program. You don't have to answer that now. You can think about it.
But I'm thinking about it.
I'm just throwing it out there. I think they do that in California. I think my brother has every other week.
That's great. That's great. Councilmember Bloomberg.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to the issue of penalizing people who have subscription services, but we do to some degree want to change people's habits where we can, and also give people who have financial issues the opportunity to control that a little bit. And the pay-as-you-throw is that option. And burdening that option with a significant increase in relationship to a reduction in the standard once a week service, I think it makes it less of an incentive for people who are trying to control costs by limiting the amount of paid refuse that they put out at the curb. There are a lot of options to reduce that, putting as much as you reasonably can into your recycle, using the compost option. There are people who are able to reduce the amount of times that they put out taxable garbage to maybe once a month or possibly less. And so for families for whom the economics are particularly important, that's an option that I would like to see improved, and to encourage people to reduce the amount of non-recyclable full pay garbage. I understand that people who can't take their garbage out to the curb may have to pay more, but perhaps rather than reducing that subscription service and significantly increasing pay-as-you-throw, there might be a more equitable distribution of increases across the board, so that we continue to incentivize people to control the amount of non-recyclable, non-compostable garbage that they put out.
Ida, we're going to dedicate an entire Highlander to Let's Talk Trash, because I think there is a lot of opportunity here for us to educate folks about options that they just haven't paid attention. It's like, I just want this to go away twice a week or whatever. And I think for people to better understand the options that are available, we need to do some pretty heavy lifting in terms of communicating. I'm not sure who's next. Michelle, Annette?
I just wanted
I
to see if we
think-
can put up the prices on the screen because I think we're getting a little confused about what's going up and what isn't. Is it possible to show that page on option 1? Because not everything's going up, right?
That's right.
And so I just wanted to take a look at these numbers because really the backdoor service is obviously clearly one time a week is staying the same, right?
Right. And
So
that's why the once a week has really been incentivized, which I think is great. But I don't know, Michelle, are you done? Because I just wanted to add a couple of things. First of all, I think it's really important to think about numbers too, as much as I'm not sure I like the disparity, and maybe the way to do it is not give as much of a reduction for the once a week curbside. But the vast majority of people in this community are doing the subscription. And yet we want to keep on, because I think it's very important to do so, the pay as you go. But that vast majority is paying, it's subsidizing the pay as you throw. Now it's going to subsidize the seasonal organics. And then we're even talking about taking away their favorite thing, which is the annual thing. And I think you do have to still, as much as you don't want to penalize a smaller group, any group, I still think you have to say, if 60-some% of this community is doing once a week, and and they're already paying for one part, now they're going to pay for a second part. And then I just think you have to remember who our community is, and that while it's one thing to help subsidize in other areas, at some point you just can't take away from them completely. So maybe the way financially to do it, to help out, is to not give quite as much of a price break to help with this so that it doesn't appear to be as costly. But I do think at some point you're really cutting off your nose to spite your face in terms of what you're doing for your community.
Josh, is it possible to do pay as you throw backdoor, or do you have to run your toter down to the street so that they know to pick it up?
Yeah, we wouldn't know then. We would be, let me think about that. That would be tough. Yeah, we'd have no way to read it. Yeah, we'd have to bring the cart all the way to the curb. Right now, we bring a carry cart, we call it, where we bring an empty cart up, empty it so we make one trip instead of two. Because of that RFID option or practice that we have, we'd have to read the cart. So we'd have to make two trips then to the top of the driveway.
I'm
Make it even more costly.
There may be a lack of knowledge by our community about the options. Because at one time we had stickers, now we have the RFID. I think there's an opportunity for us to educate folks, and we may see a shift in volume of choices just by people better understanding. I think knowing that you could have two carts instead of one would eliminate a lot of people using the 2 times a week, because they'd be like, oh, okay, I don't need to have this, like, if you're not using diapers or whatever, you can have the stuff taken once a week, but you may just be a large family that generates a lot of trash. So I think there's a huge opportunity here for us to educate people about the options. And I think that may be part of what's driving use. Just my food for thought.
Yeah, another point I wanted to make about the recalibrating of prices too, that doesn't exist anymore, is that recycling isn't free. For half of this past contract, recycling cost us twice as much from a disposal tipping rate than garbage did. And we don't want to make the assumption that it's free. It may be free again in the near future. We don't know. But that's another area where the pay-as-you-throw users have really benefited because of the way it was set up initially, when there was a really nice revenue stream for the recycling commodity. But with that going away and maybe coming back a little bit, we are seeing a rebound with some recycling where your time in negotiating is really good. If this were 6 months ago, it'd be a little bit different conversation here. But I don't like to make that thought that recycling is free, because we do have some users in Highland Park, they just pay the base fee. They don't pay anything. We've got hundreds of users that just pay the base fee. So I don't know if it's good neighbor policies or they take it to work, but there's definitely some people that just use the recycling only.
Wow. Food for thought. All right, I think there's so much here and so much that needs to be considered. Councilman Holloman, you have your hand up and then maybe we can you don't have your hand up. Okay.
No, I just had one last comment, which was that I heard 4 people in favor of the organics. I just wanted to summarize.
I was heading in that direction. So thank you for that. So I did want to understand, it sounds to me like we have a consensus around option 1. I think there's a request for a little bit of data in terms of some smoothing of the delta. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But I think there was a little bit of that of, can we maybe diminish some of the disproportionality of the impact to some? And I was curious to know how many people were in support of the organics. Can we get rid of the shared screen so we can see the gallery and then we can, all right. So if you could raise your hand if you support the organics program. It looks like pretty much everybody. So, okay. So that's a good one. And then anybody want to get rid of the annual pickup? Interesting. Tony, best of luck in your endeavors. All right. And Kim. All right. And I understand where that's coming from, but I'll be sure to send all those emails to the 2 of you.
Josh wants to get rid of it too.
I understand Josh, right.
Maybe different reasons, but
He doesn't
yes.
get a vote.
Josh wanted to get rid of it last time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
Okay.
truly don't mind it. I just don't like the way it looks in town, and I do know that other people are utilizing it that don't live in Highland Park.
Yeah. Thank you. All right.
Will this come back to us then with a revised discussion kind of thing, or will it just come back as a contract?
Well, I think the mayor's going through right now just to see where we have consensus, and we will.
I think we need a little more data
Yep.
because it sounded like people were curious about a little bit of smoothing of some of the changes.
Yeah, so
so
go
I
back
think
work with Josh and Walter. I do want to recognize Walter's on the phone as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Walter, for being with us and everything that you are doing. in terms of-
Councilmember Stone, we're just in a committee of the whole meeting, so any changes will come to us again or to you again in some format.
Because this has been so much fun, do we want it to come back to the committee of the whole?
I think we do.
I think we do too.
And I think there was support from everybody for trying to see what kind of incentive we might engender, right?
Right. Well, and I throw that challenge, Gita, back to Amanda and Rob. This could be your farewell gift to the city of Highland Park. But, let's really educate and communicate our residents about what is actually, because I can tell you, people don't spend more than 30 seconds. They get the little thing and they go, oh, all right. And then they sign up and they don't understand what the pay as you throw is. They don't understand that you could have 2 toters and 1 pickup. I think there's some real information that we need to kind of put out there in a way that people will stop and look at. I guarantee you the people whose prices are going up $20 a month are going to be like, what are you people doing to me? And we're going to throw in an extra $3 for something you may not want. You're going to hear from a bunch of those folks. So I think it really behooves us to be proactive and to educate and communicate as much as possible. And we are going to have to talk about this. And I'm begging you to find your best garbage puns to bring to this conversation. Andres, one more time, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, really quickly. Also, we should factor in the cost to our city infrastructure 2 times a week. Just the extra tonnage on our streets. I don't know if it has any accelerates the wear and tear or not, but I would like to see if there was some point of view on that as well.
I don't know that you can quantify that. And I can just tell you, Glencoe, Lake Forest, Winnetka, who else was it? All those towns are doing 2 times a week. I think it's kind of hard to quantify that versus Amazon and how many Amazon trucks are running through our street, generating all this garbage. So that could be a wormhole that has no end. But I appreciate you raising that question. Obviously, we want to diminish our emissions. That's always part of the goal. And so I think with some good communication, we can help people understand why 2 times a week, unless you're like a major diaper generator, is maybe not the thing that you need. So I think there's an opportunity there. Josh, thanks for playing at home. Thanks for bringing all of this information to us. And Rob, hats off again on a terrific job of presenting and negotiating. I can't wait to talk about this some more.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Mayor, we'll work to bring this back January 10th, so we will strive for that date.
Sounds great. Okay, thank you. And then do we have any other matters for this open session?
None for open, no.
Okay, so with that, I am seeking a motion to go into closed session regarding matters of personnel. Steve?
Collective bargaining.
Collective bargaining is a specific item.
Yeah.
Collective bargaining. Tony,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have
Yeah.
the code memorized.
I do. So I would move to go into closed session for purposes of discussing collective bargaining pursuant to 5 ILCS section 120/2C2.
Second,
Okay, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Tapia.
Aye.
Councilmember Stolberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Stone.
aye.
Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Holloman.
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. Gita emailed the link this afternoon, so I will see you there.
And the mayor will be back to this meeting to adjourn this committee of the whole meeting.
You betcha. Thank you. As requested by the City Council Committee of the Whole, I'm hereby adjourning the open session of tonight's meeting. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.